up. Most of the tomatoes that are on the market today are GMO, and the tests that were done on it recently showed that animals died within 3 weeks of eating it. If I were you, if you eat a tomato, I would make sure that you grew it in your own garden and it wasn't a GMO seed.
Now, that's the key. The answer that I came up with to this whole New World Order plan was just stepping back 10,000 years. 10,000 years. And how did we live then? You know, we lived on the self-sufficient family farm. But right now, they are going after the organic farmers. They're going after anybody that's producing or growing marijuana, even though it's legal in 17 states. The feds are still going in and trying to raid the farms to stop that.
Yes.
Now, why don't they want us to have marijuana? Because it's actually good for us. It restores the soil. The hemp restores the soil. You plant it as a rotational crop. You make everything out of it, from Model Ts to Nikes, and all of our documents, our founding documents, were printed on hemp. This was an attack. The war on drugs was also a war and an attack on the farmers, and now they're going after. I've said, look, you can make a Liberty Village in your neighborhood. If you went around and talked to all your neighbors and said, look, we got an idea. Let's dig up the backyard and plant a garden there and put solar right out there on your roof. Put solar out there right on your roof and generate your own power, sell it back to the electric companies. And if you're growing your own food and generating your own power from everything God gave you, you don't need the government or the banks for nothing.
Well, actually, they want to outlaw the hemp and the marijuana for one reason. It's called greed, because both hemp and marijuana prevent cancer. And they're making a whole lot of money on chemotherapy and radiation, which kill people.
Yep.
So they don't want you to be healthy. They want you to be sick, so they're big pharma greed conspiracy crap.
You know, let's just take a little bit of common sense here for just a moment, folks. Let's just take a little bit of common sense here. The government and the newspapers have told you that we are in a war, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
We're in a war. We're in a war. It's a war on terror. Well, I've told people that a war on terror is a war against anyone, anywhere in the world that opposes one world banking, one world government.
Right.
That's who they consider a terrorist. That's why they're trying to paint homegrown terrorism, people like you and I, as homegrown terrorists. Because we are, if we're opposing their little one world communist, you know, Judeo-Christian satanic, Masonic cult here that's running things, the elite, the nobles. I mean, you can read about the nobles in William Wallace, and William Wallace was, opposing that. It's been going on throughout history. It's happening here right now, folks. And they don't want people like John and I are the warriors. We're the ones that are standing up for you. We're the ones that are saying, wait a minute. You know, we're the ones that aren't going along with consensus. You know what consensus is? You know, if you go to a town hall meeting and the guy stands up and tells you how they're going to put meters on your wells, and zone it so you can't grow anything in your own backyard, and you sit there in the audience and you keep your mouth shut, then you have just become part of the consensus. You've just become part of the problem, and you're cowering down there in your seat and going, I hope nobody thinks I'm with him. Did you hear what he had to say? And then you have become the true domestic enemy. John?
Yeah, that's fact. That's fact. There are like 3 or 4 different governments at work right now. You have the U.S. Code. You've got the Constitution of September 17th, 1789, or 1787. and then you have the Republic's Constitution of 1776, and then you have the original Articles of Confederation, which ran our country for the first 250 years. And the one vying for for control over the other three, which is the socialist democracy. Anybody who's against the socialist democracy is an enemy. That's what they call us, enemies.
Now they've gone after. They've got. There's. I pointed this out yesterday. We are giving foreign aid to 150 countries.
Mm-hmm.
China and Israel being, and Russia being some of those. That there's only 100. There's only 192 countries in the world, and the only ones we're not giving foreign aid to are maybe Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Syria. And they've divided those up, and they've made those the bad guys, because they're moving you into another world war. They're going to, they sacrificed 58,000 plus of my brothers in Vietnam in an illegal war. Killed 1 million Vietnamese farmers that weren't doing anything, were no threat to America, and it was all done on lies, just like the Iraq war. And now they're trying to move us into a war. They already took down Libya. They already took down Afghanistan. They've already taken down Iraq. Now they're going after Iran. And this is all because these are the people that are holding out against one world government. And there were two other countries. There were two countries that held out against one world government over 100 years ago. They tried, their first plan for one world government was the League of Nations. And when the United States and Russia wouldn't go along with that, so the communists went in and murdered the Tsar and took over and created the Soviet Union and communism with the help of New York financiers like Jacob Schiff. And of course the Rothschilds, who are behind all of this. This is what we've been fighting all the time, and we're still fighting this, folks. We're in the last game. You know what's? I think this whole 2012 thing. I don't believe the world's going to end. I think it's been going for a few 100,000 years, and I don't think it's going to end tomorrow or this year. But it could be the end of the banksters' world if the people can wake up and at least get organized and at least are intelligent enough to back somebody that ain't just part of the game, that ain't got a title of nobility, ain't working with the bankers, ain't protecting the government, ain't protecting the banks, ain't protecting. Start working for the people. Now, it sounds good, but practicality, making this work, damn near impossible, because people are afraid. They're afraid to admit what's going on, John.
People have got to realize that we don't have any obligation, financial or otherwise, to give money to other countries. Because every time we give money to another country, it only goes into the dictator's pocket, and the people don't receive squat. Now, we have no obligation to be the policeman of the world either. If anyone would care to read the very last line of the Monroe Doctrine, it says, we have just come out of England, and we don't believe that we should be interfering in other countries' business. It's none of our business what goes on in Iraq or Afghanistan, and if anybody thinks that attacking Iran is going to be a quick, easy battle, they're fools, unless they can remember the Iran-Contra affair during Reagan's administration. They are armed by us. They have everything we have. And now this idiot in the White House wants to attack a country we armed. He's an idiot. Stone cold stupid. And that's what you get for putting a ghetto black in the White House.
No, I have to disagree with you, John. If they were just stupid, occasionally they'd make a mistake in our favor.
Well, actually, they have, but I think he's the biggest mistake anybody ever made. Although he's perfect for them, he's also their biggest mistake, because he's the one who woke up most of the people in this country that have been awakened so far. I mean, shit, he's the best gun salesman on earth. There were only 9 million registered gun owners at the end of George W. Bush's reign. In the 3.5 years he's been in office, he's sold at least 2 million guns. There's a salesman on earth that can claim that. None. People are afraid of him, and people are getting to the point that they're turning towards fury towards this government. But fury towards the government ain't going to help. What you need to do is become self-sufficient like we were before. Grow your own food, milk your own cow, work your own land, and get your neighbors involved.
And how about having one low-cost structure? You can get a TP for under $5,000. You can get a solar unit for under for about $4,000. You know, you put up one TP with 6 veterans. Put a solar unit in it. You don't need the government. You don't need the power company. They can devote their own food. They can milk the goats. They can mend the fences, and they can defend the place when this all falls apart, and it's all going to fall apart.
But they've got to be quiet about it. Really, you heard about the pig farmers in Michigan, where the government went in. First, they sent them a letter and said, either kill all your pigs or you're going to prison.
Yes,
that happened. Yeah, that happened in Michigan.
That was just this last month.
Yeah, in the last 3 weeks. But then you've got to be quiet about it. But you've got to be vocal enough to get people involved. But don't take out a 5-page ad in the New York Times that says, "Hey, we're growing food, and it's not GM or GMO." We need to get people listening. We need to get people actually getting up off of their dead ass and doing something.
John, there were a number of synchronistic events around my accident, May 20th, 2004, and following that. And I right before that, I had come out with Building Number 7 on the cover, and I also came out with the concept for Liberty Villages, growing your own food, living in low-cost structures, and opening it up to veterans before the accident. It was in the issue with the Building Number 7 on the cover.
Yeah.
And I think that was the reason they tried to take me out more than 9/11, because I think they wanted the information about 9/11 to get out.
Well, they've been advertising, they've been telegraphing their punches for the last 30 years. How about The Day After Tomorrow? How about Deep Impact? How about Armageddon? All movies depicting what could very possibly happen to the Earth. They've been telegraphing their punches. They do it because they can, and no one... It's not that no one can stop them, it's that there's so much goddamn fluoride in the water, and chlorine, and all of these poisons in your food and in the air, that's making people docile. It's having a psychotic effect on people. And they've got to break out of it. I mean, they've just got to refuse to be docile. You've got to stand up. You've got to talk. You've got to talk to your neighbors. You've got to do something besides sit there and eat, sleep, work, drive your car, and pretend that voting matters. I mean, shit, this year's election isn't going to be counted by someone in Spain. What's going to happen is we're all going to vote, and they're going to wait a couple days and announce whoever they want for the winner. They won't count squat. And George Soros owns the company. He's probably one of the biggest communists in this country. The people have got to wake up.
Well, you know,
look.
Up in Albuquerque 20 years ago, I was with Wake Up America. We brought Mark Cornke and Charlie Duke in. You know, we were trying to do something after Waco. We started the militia there. So, it's, you know, telling people to wake up. Now, I personally, I would, because of the information that I've got, that I've accumulated on this radio show by having guests like you and thousands of people on from all over the world, I'd like to be able to take this show, this message, to the colleges, but I'll bet you I'm blocked in the colleges, I'm blocked in libraries, I'm blocked. They don't want this attitude, this information getting out. You know, and they play us all against each other. Or they got the conservative over there going, marijuana, we need to throw those hippies in jail. No, you don't. You don't. What we need to do is abolish all the laws against victimless crimes, and that would pretty much take out the whole police state that they're creating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yes, it would.
If there is no corpus delicti, folks, there ain't no crime.
No harm, no crime.
What I'm doing right now, first of all, you got no idea what I'm doing right now. You're watching television or listening to the radio. And what I'm doing right now, almost got me 99 years, 40 years ago. Today, it's medical marijuana is legal in 17 states, but in the rest of the country, you'll be a criminal for doing what I just did. That is insanity. Ron Paul agrees that that's insanity. So we need to bring the right and the left. We need to bring the Republicans and the Democrats, the conservatives and the liberals. I'm sorry, you are none of those things. You are an individual with a direct link to the prime creator. You're a free man. This country, we've had hundreds of thousands of soldiers and patriots die to create a land of the free. And I'm sorry, anytime a man with a badge can come up and go, oh, what is that in your pocket? You live in a police state. Ayn Rand had it absolutely correct. If you don't, the government has no control over an honest citizen, so they have to make criminals out of us. You won't give your child a vaccine with mercury in it? Oh, you're a criminal. You're smoking a joint? Oh, you're a criminal. You didn't pay your taxes? Oh, you're a criminal.
You didn't wear your seatbelt? You're a criminal. Most people don't get it, but no one has a right to tell you what you can or cannot put in your body. LSD was legal up until 1966. Totally legal. So was cocaine. You could buy it over the counter in the 40s, in the 50s. They sold it in drugstores over the counter.
And yeah, laudanum. How about opium? I mean, you can get laudanum right up until the 50s.
Yeah, sure could. But everybody had to be a criminal. In the I think it was in the 1940s, 1 out of every 500,000, or I think it was 1 every 500,000 was a felon. Today it's 1 out of 15. 1 out of every 15 people is a convicted felon. Hell, I've got a felony on my record because I didn't want to take part in an OK Corral scenario. I was in a store while I was being robbed. The robber told me to get behind the counter with the store owner, and, you know, being in the Army and in my private life, I know about guns. He was holding a Smith & Wesson. It would fire every time. The guy who owned the store, he was reaching for a made-in-Miami Targa. Saturday night special is what they used to call it. He would probably fire 4 out of 6 times, and it might be somewhat accurate. You might hit in the same universe as the target. And I just simply said, excuse me, don't reach for that gun. I'm not ready to die. I got a year in prison for that because I didn't want 2 assholes to have a gunfight in a 20 square foot area while I'm in it. So I got a year in prison for that. I had to become a criminal.
That's what they do. And by the way, the BATF, you're supposed to be able to go to the BATF, and after you've been clean for so many years and not in trouble for so many years, you're supposed to be able to get that removed so you could vote again, you know. They closed that office. They defunded that office.
As soon as I came out of prison, I have a legal document over there in my bookcase that states all of my civil rights were restored. All of them, including the right to bear arms. But the court system said, oh, that is what it says, but that's not what it means. Also, I was denied a passport under George W. Bush. I'm not allowed to leave the country for any reason under the sun.
That's interesting. My passport expired, and I haven't flown since before 9/11. Used to fly all the time. After 9/11, I refused to fly anymore.
If I leave the country, it'll have to be illegally.
This for one for something that you did for 1 year. What created this? Where is this coming from, John?
What do you mean, what created it? I walked into a store to buy cigarettes and some fucker's robbing it.
Oh, okay. And they won't let you, and you stopped it, but all of a sudden they won't let you leave the country now?
No, I'm not allowed to leave the country. I'm not allowed to fly. I am constantly watched. Hell, I've got people repeating, shit. I'll tell you what, within 24 hours of me leaving my house after this radio show, people out there in public are going to repeat back to me that didn't listen to this radio show what I said on the show.
Repeat that for me.
Okay, everything that I've said on this radio show this morning.
Yes, sir.
When I walk out of my house sometime in the next 24 hours, which I will do, and go into town, I'll have people repeating back to me what I said on this show. And I'll turn around and say, oh, you listen to the Free American radio show. And most of them will say, no. Never heard of it.
That's interesting. In my commercial there, in my intro, you know, I do make the statement that they have gone to my guests and said, why are you going to be on Clay Douglas's show?
I've had 2 visits from the Men in Black back in 2008 and 2 years before that for something I put up on a website. But, yeah, I've had visits by then.
That's
no big deal.
Yeah.
And I've been watched ever since.
You know, hopefully we still have good people that haven't bought into this whole Zionist propaganda, communist propaganda. Zionist, communist propaganda. What else? I mean, you could throw in there fascism. It don't make any difference. I mean, they try to. There's about as much difference between fascism and communism as there is Republicans and Democrats.
Well, I'll tell you what. I heartily recommend that if anyone who hears this radio show, if you get a phone call from someone you don't know, even someone you do know, that says, "I'll give you $20 to drive your car past this certain house at a certain time," your answer should be, "Oh, go screw yourself. Drive your own car by the house." Because the moment that you commit a crime publicly and you think no one's watching, you just became blackmailable. And you will become part of the CIA in community no-touch torture. They will force you into it, blackmail you into it, extort you into it, or threaten your family into it.
Now, what you're describing here, to me, this has always been really strange. I published a magazine in Arizona for years. I came to Tucson and decided to stay for a little while. I went to the places my magazine had been in. That had advertised with me and everything. Everything was fine. Everything was fine. I was starting another website. And all of a sudden, the rumors started. Hey, Clay's selling that bug to raise money for a snitch named YHWH. This all started after my third book came out.
Mm-hmm. Not surprising. You have another enemy in town too.
Yes.
They're called InfraGard. It is businesses that belong to an FBI program called InfraGard, protecting the infrastructure. They stalk people. They have the right to use deadly force in case of an attack on American soil.
Yes.
But they are also just as deadly as the in-community no-touch torture people. And sometimes they work hand in hand.
Well, the whole homegrown terrorist thing, to watch out for homegrown terrorists. Remember that Senate Bill 1959?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't take taking a picture or looking at a map, they must be a terrorist. That
formed the fusion centers in every town.
Yeah, there's like 100 of them. There's almost 2 in every state. There's one in Albuquerque and there's one in Las Cruces in New Mexico. And I think there's one in Phoenix in Arizona. Those are the ones I know of local. Local to me, anyway. But the fusion centers are supposedly to help the local people work with federal government. And, God, even the fact that they do it, God, don't you understand that by working with the federal government, you're working against the people?
The federal government is real scared right now. We're almost out of time. My guest today is John Nutter. He's got Lone Wolf Solar. And folks, I'm telling you the answer here. You get one of the solar units from John or from me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. You get what you need. One of us makes a little bit of money. That's it. I've always worked on commissions. I still work on commissions. We will put Liberty Villages together. We'll put together a database. So if you want to file an application with me, with libertyvillages.org, I'll have that set up on there. You'll file an application. You want a home? You're looking for a home. You need a home. You got a home. You're looking for people that you can work with and trust and depend, and are you trustworthy and dependable? We'll try to sort through these, and we'll introduce people we'll introduce you to landowners that need help, and maybe you need a place to stay. Maybe you need a low-cost structure that you can live in for a while.